Hello, welcome to Comp125. This is the recordings for the lecture for week 13. This week we're gonna cover data structure, which is of type dictionaries. So let's get started. So today's question is, we're asking how can we organize our data so it's much more easier for us to use. So we're going to look into a much more advanced data structure, which is called a dictionary. And then we're going to do a quick review of our lists and see how we can make things a little bit easier with dictionaries. Quick review. So let's write a program that counts the number of words in a file, and we're going to use the list data structure to do that. So I'm going to open up PyCharm, and then let's take a look at our word count, and we're going to basically open up this tongue twister file, and we're going to try to read how many words we have in this file, and just show the count for each word. So to do that, let's look at our starter code. So we're going to initially work with the data structure that we have list. So we're going to implement the list version of it, and we're going to try to count the words. So we need to have a collection of words and a connection of the counts. So we're associated, and we have two different data structures. So first of all, to do that, we need to open up the file. So let's write our code here. We're going to open up the file with open, and then the name of the file is, if you remember, it was tongue twister txt, and I'm going to open this one in read mode, and I'm going to call this one as F, and I'm going to start reading it. The first one, first time I'm going to say, hey, the line is equal to F read line, and later on I'm going to say, while line has some data in it, while it's not an empty string, I'm going to first, let's look at the first one. I'm going to read this one line, and then I'm going to get rid of the extra spaces or new lines at the end of that line. I'm going to strip it, and so line will be equals to line.strip. So assign it back to itself. Now if you look at it, some of the words have some punctuations at the end, so I don't want to count those. I want to get rid of those punctuations. So we used to have a method called delete punctuations, and I'm just going to use that. So I think I have that in my solution. So let me grab that. We already written this code before, right? So I can reuse it here. So let's get rid of the punctuations. And we already had a list of punctuations that we want to remove as well. So let's also put that back. This was a code that we have written way back. It was basically looking for these characters inside the string, and whenever we find it, we just remove it. We don't include it in the new one. So once I get that, Let me get rid of the punctuation. So I'm gonna create another list called words, and I will say delete the punctuation, and let me pass the line to it. But before I pass it, let me also strip it, so using the spaces between them, so the default version. So I'm gonna strip it and then pass it to the function. Okay, I have one extra parentheses. Now let's look at all the words in the words collection. So let's call it V for the current word. Well, let's call it current word, either one of them. I like to call it just V. W. In words. Now I'm gonna basically just go through the contents of it. If and I'm gonna put this W inside the word list if that word is already not in the list. So the first time I could just put the word list, this new word, and I could put the V in there, W. However, if I already have this W in there, I don't want to put it again. So let me check it before I add it. So if W not in the word list, then I'm gonna add it. Otherwise, I don't want to create another word entry for that. And I also want to count the words, so I would just update my count list. And since it's the first time, I'm gonna append 1 into it. So the first time I call it 1. Okay. If I already have this word in the list, then in that case, I'm gonna get the index, whatever that index is, for that word. So I'm gonna ask the word list, what is the index of that word, so I can grab whatever the count is. So once I know the index in there, it's probably the same index too, right? So I can just say this, give me the count for the word that already exists in there, and I'm just gonna increment it by 1. Okay, and I'm gonna keep on reading it. So let me read the next line, because I'm constantly saying read, read, read. So once I'm done in the for loop, I'm gonna read the line one more time. Read line. Oops, line. Now here I can just return the count, or I can just print the count here. So let me print the count. Once I'm done opening the file, let me just print the word count as well as the word list. First word list, then the word count. Or it's called count list. Okay. So I'm calling the list, and this one is creating 2 lists. And I'm opening the tongue twister. I'm reading the first line, and I will keep on reading it until there's nothing to read. I'm gonna strip it, get rid of the extra new lines at the end, and I'm gonna strip it. I'm sorry, it's not strip, but it's split it using blank spaces, and then I'm gonna get rid of the punctuations remove those punctuations. And then I'm gonna look into every word one by one. If the word doesn't exist in the list, I'm gonna add it, and I'm gonna start counting with 1. So append to the word list as well as to the count list. If the word is already in my list, in that case I'm gonna get the count for that word and then update the count. So let's run it. Python 3, and the name of my code is word count starters. So if you look at it, I say 1/2 too much for word for the wood. So let's take a look. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And there's only 1/2, and as I have 1 only, so it looks okay. All right, let's continue. Let's also do another exercise where we are going to print a list of zoo animals, not including the bears though, and the corresponding list of number of times each animal has been fed. So similar project, but we're using a different type of file and different type of counting. So if you remember this project way back, let's look at it. Our zoo file has the name of the animal, the type of the animal, what it eats, and the times for feeding. So let's open up PyCharm and start our code. So in this case, I'm gonna open up the file called zoo.txt, and I'm gonna say print animal feedings, and this will print the list of zoo animals, not including bears, and the corresponding list of times the animals have been fed. So let me create 2 lists again. Animals, let's call it animals. It's an empty list, and also the number of feedings for them. So again, this is an empty list. Now let me open up the file with open, and then the name of the file is, this time I'm just gonna get it from the argument here, and I'm gonna open it with an R, and I'm gonna call it as F. And let me read the file. I'm gonna read it in a different way now. I'm not gonna use the while loop. I will just say for line in F. That's a different way of reading. Let me first split the line. Okay, using now if you look at it, it has commas between them. So I'm gonna split the line first, line.strip, using comma.